And looks like they're off.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so this is going to be our second race of the bracket stage, both first round. And this is going to be a good one. So, noadKajoo being one of our top runners coming out of the Swiss round, and Xander also being very good, having a bit worse luck, I think, going through the tournament, but both very competitive. I think this 8-person bracket stage is going to be really tight through and through.
Yeah, no, like Xander, strikes me as someone that probably should have been through without having to rely on the tiebreaker.
Yeah. I mean, the tiebreaker was interesting, and I mean, we definitely got kind of the result we expected. The 3 people advancing through the tiebreaker were the 3 people with the highest times going in.
The real shame was that we had some really bad times in that tiebreaker, and I just think, well, if Jericho was in there, he would have thrown a spanner in the works.
Yeah,
because I think he would have knocked someone out.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate with the scheduling.
Yeah.
But they are off, so collecting their sword and now duping their rupees.
So Xander getting decent RNG with rupees, but he's not getting the dupes. That's the problem there. If he had gotten the dupe on all of them, he would have gotten it. I believe that the dupe's somewhat RNG though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I tasked it once and looked into it, and it seemed that even for the same position you're on, the same drop, the same luck, it seemed like it was like a 50-50 frame thing on whether or not you'd actually dupe it. But
I'm pretty sure it's frame rule. I'm sure it's frame rule in the same way as picking up a key when it first lands in a room.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Xander getting some horrible luck. Again.
Yeah.
I really feel for Xander.
I mean, Node had some bad luck too, but Xander's is just even worse. He needs one more rupee.
Xander always has bad luck in this game. It's... I mean, I would say it's a meme at this point, but it's gotten to the point where it's actually just past a joke. And you just feel bad for him.
But yeah, so he is through, so he's going to carry on, and but geez, he's got to be 30 seconds behind Node at this point.
And in a race like this, where they're pretty close together in terms of what they could do in this race, that's going to make quite a difference, the half a minute.
Yeah, to have similar skill levels, but to lose 30 seconds early on to something out of your control, I really hope it doesn't send Xander on a tailspin.
It's actually really easy to tilt playing this game.
Oh, so easy.
It's especially when you know your opponent's probably not going to be making mistakes, and when at this point Xander is most likely going to be having to rely on Node making a mistake or two to catch up.
Well, it's one of those things where, from Node's point of view, he knows he has to race well because he's facing a tough opponent, but Xander, on the other side, he's facing a pretty much perfect opponent, Node is pretty much tied with Vlak for the best average times throughout this tournament. Neither Vlak nor Node has really had a bad race this tournament.
And then on top of that, you have Xander, who just had such bad RNG right at the start already. And yeah, that's gotta really affect the mood when you're running, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Node deking out those Octoroks pretty well, heading on to D1. And we missed it on Node's side, but he is down 2 bombs. But we'll see Xander now go for the bomb trigger here on the raccoon form of Karen. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, it's a trick we're going to see come up a lot in this run, where the game usually doesn't allow you to place 2 bombs on the same screen at the same time, but we can abuse pits and screen transitions to place 2 bombs in a very short window, typically, 1 to 3 frames or 2 to 4 frames. And by doing so, you'll actually trick the game into kind of overlapping the bomb information with, you know, the information of another object on screen. In this case, it was Terran, and we kind of activate his little cutscene without using the powder.
Xander getting the nice pit walk.
Yes.
What?
I watched it and I was impressed, but I should have stopped and covered that, yeah.
What makes me laugh about that bomb trigger in the forest just quickly is you have to kill the moblin on the left before you do it. But we've had people in this tournament who have done that bomb trigger without even realizing that you have to kill the moblin. They just killed it because it was in the way.
Yeah, they just saw everyone else doing it. But yeah, so, you know, Xander actually saved, you know, probably 4 or 5 seconds on getting that pit walk there coming to D1. It's basically a 50-50 strat on whether or not you get it or you fall in, and he just went for it. Xander typically does, and paid off for him this time.
Well, he always goes for it twice.
Yeah.
It's like a Xander rule. If you miss it the first time, you have to go for it again.
And note here, getting the boss key and skipping both ways over that key block doesn't need an extra key. Using what we call a super jump by basically wall clipping a few pixels, you know, inching your way a few pixels into the wall and tricking the game mid-jump into thinking you're jumping off the wall. And we get a lot of extra distance on that, and here in Dungeon 1 it lets us skip a key, lets us save a screen transition, not really major, but you know, it saves a ton of time later on with other routing decisions. Node cleaning up Moldorm without too much trouble there. Finishing up D1.
So how much do we reckon Xander's caught up? I want to say he has caught up some amount.
Well, let's see, Node got the text box 709. I'll use that as my point. Xander having a good Moldorm fight as well, though.
Yeah, I always find it difficult to judge how far they are apart because the cutscenes take quite a while, and you don't realize it until you actually start timing.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see, you know, like, oh yeah, Node's still in D1, you know, at the end of the cutscene, but yeah, it's a lot longer than you think. And that's 43, so
yeah,
about 33 seconds. 34 seconds.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah. Nothing insurmountable, and he certainly hasn't let the gap widen at all.
Well, it's about one rooster skip. Maybe a bit more, but...
Yeah.
One
rooster skip, a couple blue balls.
Rooster skip difference brings him back into it.
But we see here, Node's come into this cave on his way through the forest again, and just doing a super jump to get to this hard piece early. Typically, you need the bracelet, come back here later, but... it's just so much quicker to do it while we're on our way to D2. And of course, being 100%, we need to collect all the heart pieces.
Actually, I think Node said he was going to do early rooster skip.
Oh, did he?
Dear God, yeah.
Okay, well keep an eye out for that then.
So, we see Node going to talk to the mouse, take some pictures. So you have to do that now, as opposed to later, because if you have a follow, you can't talk to the picture guy. And because of the way pictures sync up, if you get the Dungeon 3 key before you talk to the picture guy, which usually you would have Bow Wow still at that point, then you're basically soft locked. You can't finish the game at that point with 100%.
Yeah, you can't complete the category at that point. And just to answer in chat, I'd say the most difficult trick in not just this category, but any category, historically, has been rooster skip. And we'll see that partway through the run. And early rooster skip in particular is quite difficult, that we might see noadKajoo go for.
I have to say, I don't think it's rooster skip anymore.
Well,
I think
with buffering rooster skip, it's made a lot easier for it.
Yeah, I think bufferless rooster skip would be the hardest trick.
Yeah, and I do see people saying that early hookshot is the most difficult trick. and strongly disagree. It's very easy to do. It's just it's a 50-50 chance of working, so it can be a very costly trick in your run, but it's not hard by any measure to actually execute.
I think early magnifying lens would be a bit more difficult than early hookshot.
Yeah, yeah. Even with, you know, now we have setups for early magnifying lens, but it can still be, you know, tricky to do.
I also want to say some of the really swag super jumps, like the one we see in D4, the newer one. Some of those are really hard to do. Like, they're hard to do in that you have to do them quickly.
Yeah, some of the quicker tricks can just be, you know, trickier than you'd think they would be. Hey, Xander getting his quick eat on the flower there from Bow Wow. Of course, needing Bow Wow to enter D2. No other way through those flowers at this point. I didn't see how quick Nodes was, but Xander swears by his setup.
I wish we could find a consistent way for Bow Wow skip.
Oh, for Bow Wow skip, yeah.
But yeah, Bow Wow skip wouldn't be possible in this category anyway, because you need Bow Wow to be at the house to get the Bow Wow picture.
Yeah, we need to get the photo with Bow Wow anyway.
Yeah.
So, fun quirk of the game, noadKajoo just got the power bracelet from that ghost room, and he didn't really kill the ghosts. He just pushed them off screen, and the game considers them defeated at that point. But this isn't a terribly interesting dungeon in terms of a speed run. We make our way through it more or less in the casual way, just as quickly as we can.
That's the problem with a dungeon that linear, like that casually is just so linear like this.
Yeah, I mean the progression through the dungeon is quite linear. There is a few moments of backtracking if you're one of those players that goes back for the compass, goes back for the stone beak to get the hints and whatnot. But you never have to go back. And then here's the Dungeon 2 boss. This, unlike casual, is something that we do quite differently. The quick kill is very interesting, where he's actually a two-phase boss. Typically, you dodge his fireballs, throw his bottle against the wall 3 times, and then the bottle would finally break, and then you'd fight him, and he'd warp around and hit you with fireballs. And it can be a difficult boss fight casually, but we see Node there. He wall clips into the wall, and that allows him to break the bottle in a single throw. And then with, you know, clever placement of a bomb and then a bomb arrow against the wall, he's able to ricochet. He's able to get one hit on the boss, ricochet it into a second hit, and just instantly kill the boss before he has a chance to warp away. Which makes this boss so much more manageable. Also a terrible boss. If the quick kill fails you, if you screw it up somehow, it can really feel unmanageable because, you know, speedrunners aren't used to fighting this boss normally.
I was to say, this boss always makes me nervous if I have half a heart going into it.
Oh yeah.
Because getting that second part of the quick kill then becomes a bit risky, even if it does seem quite easy to set up.
We see both runners getting through that fight without getting hit, but it's very easy, depending on your placement and timing of the first bomb, to knock the genie directly into Link, which isn't an issue in terms of the quick kill, but yeah, if you're only at 1 health, 1 heart or less, it can be quite dangerous.
So we see No getting lost there. He had to save and quit to go back. Oh, and Xander making the same mistake and going to get lost.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they're doing there, they're not actually forgetting where they're going. They're going to unlock a warp, which is going to be used a lot later on, and it's going to make things quicker, getting back to the D4 area. So you have to be on the same screen as a warp for it to activate, but then you can save and quit. And Xander getting the moonwalking moblin.
Yeah, I still don't even know what really causes that. I think it has something to do with Bow Wow being on the screen.
Probably. Have you seen the flock clipping Stelphos in D3?
I'm not sure.
Well, we see him in Rando. He's like the top left corner on the main floor. And he sometimes flock clips through the pots.
So to answer chat, this category is no wrong warp, no out of bounds. So we didn't mention it, but out of bounds for us, as we've defined it, is simply you can't go more than a single tile outside of the normally walkable area. And you won't really notice the effect of that too much, from a casual perspective. But wrong warping is when, pretty much a warp in this game is when you enter a doorway and you get taken to another screen. When you get that white fade out and you go someplace else. So a wrong warp is when you abuse, certain glitches to have Link be in an unfamiliar position and the game freaks out and sends you somewhere unintended with unintended physics and glitchy graphics and such that we take advantage of in some of our shorter categories, but not allowed in our longer ones, such as this.
The biggest, the most well-known example of wrong warping, of course, the doghouse glitch.
Yeah, so the doghouse in Maid Village is very easy to just clip into from behind, and because what Link's is technically not standing on the doorway tile, he's standing on a tile just above it, so the game doesn't know where to send Link and sends him to the glitch world we call the doghouse.
Another fun one is that you can actually open Dungeon 4 from the water side. And if you do that and enter Dungeon 4 without screen transitioning first, the warp for Dungeon 4 doesn't actually load, so it defaults you into a doghouse-like state.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of places
we
you
never
can
see that in this category.
No. But so worth mentioning here, we see on Xander's side, he's getting the photo with Richard here, which is one of the missable ones, and probably the easiest one to miss, because if you simply don't visit the castle before you get the Dungeon 3 key, you just can't get this cutscene again. And on Node's side, we saw him visit the Seashell Mansion, and that's important because we need to collect 20 seashells throughout this run in order to get the level 2 sword. And that mansion is where we'll be getting that sword at the end of the game. But until that point, there's actually 2 extra prizes you can get from the mansion at 5 and 10 seashells respectively. So we route those in to get us just 2 bonus seashells to make the routing go quicker. And we saw Node get that and here on Xander's side as well. Yeah, there's a couple of seashells we see them getting that are a bit more out of the way than we used to get. In fact, this is quite a newer route in the scheme of things. But these slightly more out of the way seashells actually save us time in the long run because we're going to be getting the level 2 sword quite early. Certainly compared to the older routes of this.
I have to say, I hope we do allow early seashell duping. Because that's gonna change the seashell routing so much if that was allowed.
Maybe.
Unfortunately, I don't see anyone using the one legal position where you can actually use that glitch with a seashell, because that's just plain slower.
Yeah, it would cost a lot of time.
It'd be swag.
It would be. Although I don't think either of these guys are focused too much on swag on this run.
No, I think they're just both trying to win here.
So we saw Node getting an early, what would be an early seashell, and Xander going for it now, where they're actually going to skip across the water without the flippers by doing what we call a Jesus jump. By pausing when they splash, they can actually get a single frame of input before they drown, in this case either jumping or transitioning. Because otherwise you'd have to come back and get the seashell after getting the flippers in Dungeon 4, but it's so much quicker to get it while we're here. And Xander getting it not too slowly, getting it, maybe a few extra buffers there, unfortunately, but getting it and carrying on. And Node already about halfway through Dungeon 3, getting what we call Dong Skip, where he actually enters the room with the Dodongos, does a quick super jump off the wall, releases a spin slash, and for whatever reason, when you're in that kind of jump state off of a cliff, clinking off of an enemy can just send you ricocheting in 90-degree angles, and he actually just jumps over into that inner ring area, allowing him to skip a key. So we're going to see he's going to do it a second time here, skipping that first key block we see him there, and he's actually going to skip a second key block here by doing a flop clip. So again, he's 2 or 3 pixels wall clipped into the wall, and holding diagonal, he gets this text box, and you can actually move a couple of pixels, like a pixel or two, while the text box shows up, which allows him to kind of shimmy diagonally through the key block. And so we actually skipped 2 keys in this dungeon, which saves a ton of time.
You actually saw both players getting piece of power there, and in exactly the same place. Weirdly for Hundo and for a category with save and quit, this is the only place that we actually root in piece of power. Piece of power makes dong skip much easier, but it also makes the boss quicker. And plus it gives us extra movement speed whilst we're walking around the dungeon.
Yeah, so noted in the chat saying he pulled a me, and I'm not really sure what that was.
Maybe he turned Canadian.
Well, I thought pulling a me in Dungeon 3 was saving and quitting at the boots, but I didn't see Node do something that costly.
Well, I mean, we saw Xander, the first dong skip he tried, I think he missed it, like, just one time there.
Yeah, he missed the first one once, and I think he got the second one.
Yeah.
First try, but...
Yeah. That's going to make a difference, because that's several seconds. And we're starting to really see the difference between the two in terms of position in this race now.
Well, it's not just the more tangible mistakes like that, but I do notice a lot of slop coming from Xander's side. You know, missing a clip, having to... Like, for the flop clip through the staircase there, he had to realign himself. You know, he talked to a crystal obstacle there, missing some dashes, and just very minor things that are slowly adding up, I think.
And the thing is, like, Xander's an exceptionally good player at this game. You kind of feel that all of these small little mistakes here and there are probably him already being tilted from that first RNG in the run.
And it kind of snowballs too, especially when you're only 20 minutes into the race and you're already, you know, working against yourself, thinking to yourself, oh, I've made this mistake, and it just kind of snowballs. But we see Node went through there, and he got the honey from Terran. And 2 fun quirks of that is that the game doesn't actually check to make sure you have the stick there. Typically, you need the stick in the trading sequence to get that honeycomb, but the game doesn't actually check to see if you have it. So we didn't have it because we did Villa skip to get into D3, and we just get the honeycomb. And additionally, Node saved and quit on the same frame that the Terran cutscene would have activated, where you'd see Terran running around getting chased by bees, and it allowed him to skip that cutscene, thus saving surprising amount of time, I think 5 or 6 seconds.
I like how the game just assumes you have the stick. It's like, well, you need the stick to get there. It's impossible to not have the stick, so we assume you have the stick.
And just to answer GT in chat, completing D3 does not give you the stick. The only thing that actually gives you the stick is picking it up from the monkeys in front of Camelot Castle. Yeah, the game just simply does not check to see if you have it.
Yeah,
at the honeycomb.
And we also know this from Rando as well. Actually, not just Rando, but I think it will work in the normal game where you can actually, as long as Taran spawned, you will get the honeycomb from him if you talk to him, even if you have a further part of the trade sequence. Because what we do in Rando is, like, quite often we'll bomb trigger the fisherman, get that part of the trade sequence, and then go back to Taran to talk to him, and we'll get the the honeycomb from him.
Yeah, quite a poorly programmed game in a lot of ways. They didn't do a lot of contingencies for sequence breaking things. Which, I mean, you can't blame them for to a certain degree, but...
They didn't expect us to be able to sequence break as much as we did, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I like to think there are speedrunners at heart, and they just left it in. Like bomb triggers and instrument cutscene skip.
So, we actually saw both runners after getting the honeycomb, they went back and visited the Seashell Mansion for a second time to get basically their second free seashell just for being there at the right time. Xander then went back to Animal Village, grabbing a pineapple, And the only reason we need the pineapple is that part of the trading sequence triggers Marin moving to the beach. And we need her at the beach so that we can go on a date with her, so we can get the 3 photos around town that involve her and the date you're on. So we see them both coming back to Maid Village now. Xander's going to go into the Dream Shrine and grab his ocarina, which Node has already done. Node, we just saw, he went to the fishing pond, and he didn't just do it for fun, he didn't just do it to get some rupees. He actually wanted to fish that one particular big fish to get a heart piece. Kind of a hidden, non-obvious heart piece, but actually kind of handy, because getting it at that point saves us a couple extra text boxes. But now, coming back, returning Bow Wow, getting his photo with Bow Wow, pretty much the only reason, besides D2, that we actually need Bow Wow. The only reason we need to return Bow Wow, anyway.
Yeah, because if you don't get Bow Wow, and then you come back to try and take a picture, well, Bow Wow has still been kidnapped, even though you finished D2. So you have to actually return Bow Wow to get the picture.
Yeah, like in a lot of our other categories, we simply just don't return them. We keep them with them the whole game. So yeah, Node getting another photo by peeping on Ulrira, and then coming and getting this really out-of-the-way seashell. Coming back to that tree by Dungeon 1 with the boots. Not obvious, there's no hint in-game, but if you just like bonking random trees, I guess you'd find that casually, but otherwise, it's easily missable.
Who found it casually? Also, did you know if you bonk that monkey that he actually falls off?
And unfortunately, no, not going for the meme of bonking the monkey, because that is a good one.
I think Xander, if he's watching, he should probably go and bonk the monkey.
You know, it might put him in a better mind space. You know, he might be tilting a little bit, upset about his previous mistakes, but you know, he'd probably appreciate the levity of bonking the monkey, joking around.
You know, if he bonks the monkey, he might get better Seagull RNG.
There it is.
Right now.
There it is. I can't commentate with you without it coming up. I was like,
you knew I was building up to it. You just didn't know how it was going to come about.
So Cravone pointing out that in that little cutscene, that the cutest cutscene in the game, some might say, those seagulls flying around are RNG, and they roll the RNG in the game, and you might say that it could affect the outcome of other things coming up, but it's hard to tell. Yes, in chat as well, who found all the heart pieces casually too? We haven't seen them yet, but there's a couple of really well hidden heart pieces.
Oh, the one in front of the moat.
Well, there's the 2 underwater ones. There's 2 cave ones with really unobvious spawnable walls.
I mean, yeah. As a kid, I was missing. I think it was. Yeah, I was missing 2 heart pieces. Kid. Even on my like old Game Boy save file, I still don't have them. It's the one in front of the moat. It's the one in the moat in front of the Cannock Castle, and it's the one in that Boots cave with the bombable wall on the right. Never found either of them. And so
I don't even know if I did.
There is no way of knowing there's a heart piece on the right of that wall. There is no way of knowing there's a heart piece in the wall in front of Cannock Castle.
And just have to point out that Node finishing up his date with Marin here and getting getting Terran Rooster blocking him in front of the cock statue. Sort of our third and final photo with Marin. We get one of us getting sat on in the well, which we combine with getting the heart piece while we're there. One against the cliff, which Xander's heading up to now, and then the final one in front of the cock statue.
I love how you phrased the weather vane statue picture.
Oh, the weather vane? Oh, jeez, that's so fancy.
Yeah, I'm calling it a weather vane.
But we're done with Marin more or less at this point, and this is typically casually when you'd move on, wake the walrus, and get the angler key. And Marin is what we need. Marin is the key to waking the walrus, but instead of using Marin, we're going to bomb trigger it because it's actually faster, believe it or not.
Because look at all that distance we would have to walk to the walrus.
Or
rather, look at all that distance Marin would have to walk back from the walrus. That's the key thing.
Funny enough, because of how quickly she'll get off the screen from this position, the rabbit's just going to vanish. Yep.
Yep. So that it wasn't just the distance Marin had to walk back that this saves us. It also saves us a menu because of this cave. We can bomb trigger all sorts of cutscenes, including heart pieces.
Yeah, well, because it's not exactly cutscenes that we're triggering. It's particularly objects. So, like with the walrus, we're triggering the walrus, in an unintended way, and that heart piece, we're triggering the collection of the heart piece in an unintended way. So that cave is actually a neat little puzzle if you're to do it normally, or I guess the attended way, quote unquote. But we just walk in and bomb trigger it.
It actually has a bombable wall in it as well.
Yeah. It's supposed to go back with the hook shot and bomb arrows or not.
You see, I always thought as a kid bomb arrows were a bug, so I thought, well, I've just got a hook shot jump. That's the intended way.
I can't even remember as a kid if I tried bomb arrows.
Bomb arrows are a bug, but hookshot jumping isn't.
But we see there one of the other very hidden heart pieces where if you fall below Landmolus into that cave, if you bomb straight up on that unremarkable wall, there's a heart piece. And we also saw, we kind of glossed over, but Node just got his key. That's the key to Dungeon 4, and he did it by fighting the invisible Landmolus that may or may not actually be there.
I was still in the middle of coming up with my cover story for that.
Oh, so you gotta be quicker.
You see, I was like Lamola in that fight, not quick enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's see if Xander can get it. Yeah, so see, Xander, he clips into that wall, which gives him the right position to get 2 quick arrows, and the Landmolus, not a difficult boss on the best of days, but you can get 2 quick arrows and he doesn't even have a chance to start his text box. His hitbox is active for whatever reason, and we take advantage of it.
I love how Xander got the frame perfect walking out of the pit.
Yeah.
the very pit he needs to fall down.
Yeah, he was holding up because he wanted to hold up for the bomb arrow after the fall, but he accidentally walked off the pit, which, yeah, it's frame perfect.
Frame perfect.
And Node now getting his first song for his ocarina, the Ballad of the Windfish from Marin, which probably the best song, memes aside, for the ocarina, but we never use it. Which is going to be a theme with this, not using ocarina songs.
There's one that we use.
Yes, we do use one of the 3 songs, which is Mambo's Mambo.
A couple times.
Yeah. Which is interesting. It'd be a shame if we didn't get to use the ocarina at least a couple times. Dude, and we see here that that portal that they activated after D2 coming in handy for Node. He's able to just warp directly back here and unlock Dungeon 4. Saving him a couple seconds overall.
See, when you mentioned Mamba, I was just going to say, well, moving on. Well, I think we'll wait until after Dungeon 4 to start that whole can of worms in chat.
I knew there was a downside to commentating with you, I just couldn't remember what it was.
you forgot that we were different teams on that one.
Yeah, I forgot we were so diametrically opposed.
But we're still both Team Blue.
Hey, and Node got obstacle skip. Gotta point that out, that's always important. Saving himself half a second.
Oh dear, do you see what he didn't go into?
I did. He skipped setting his warp point on a particular cave there, which means he's going to be entering the Bird Key cave early and getting early rooster skip.
That wasn't a good jump from
yeah, he wasn't over to the right enough to... So he Jesus jumped there, similar to in front of Dungeon 3, and positively splashed, which gave him a frame of jumping. Yeah, he just wasn't far enough right, because the stairs have a very narrow hitbox compared to other walkable tiles, but yeah, so... We see him setting his save and quit point to that Bird Key cave, which typically, well, casually, the game expects you to come here with the Flying Rooster. In speedruns, we come back with the hookshot to hookshot jump there, but Node has neither. He just has boots and a shovel, which we're going to see him make use of to do a very RNG-heavy setup for getting this key.
Basically, if you see them enter this cave before getting that bridge picture, you are guaranteed they're gonna do this.
Yeah.
He didn't clip. Wow.
It's somewhat easier to get into position if you don't clip. So we see he does a dash jump to get onto this pit, and he wants to position himself kind of on top of this corner of the wall. And he's going to buffer his pause menu, similar to Villa Skip, until he hears Link falling. And based on this position, he's probably going to have to do it. I don't know, he's in position, nice. So he only needed to hear... he only had to fall once, clipped him into the wall to keep him from falling. He buffered a jump, he buffered his boots with the shovel, which puts him in a permanent dash state, and then he's able to do pretty much a frame-perfect jump out of it, which isn't frame-perfect anymore, to get across, and he nailed it. So a bit long in the number of buffers he had to do, but he didn't fall, and he got the keys, so that's awesome.
I think that was maybe like a few seconds quicker than first try Rooster Skip.
Yeah, I think you saved maybe 12, 13 seconds. Black timed, and I think it was 13 seconds for a perfect one buffer early Rooster Skip. So because he may have still saved a bit of time. I'm not sure.
You also have to remember that you're comparing it against probably bufferless Rooster Skip. People that use the buffer method for Rooster Skip, this saves even more time against that.
You're right. The 12-second faster is comparing a perfect early Rooster Skip to a perfect Rooster Skip. So yeah, he probably saved 10 seconds with that, or something in that ballpark.
And then he's just lost some of those seconds in this room.
Yeah, so the pattern's obvious. The game sort of tells you which tiles to hit. But the pattern, there's 4 patterns, and it is random. But it's really annoying because the Helmosaurs are a pain to kill. They're not worth killing, but they can kind of knock you around and knock you into resetting the puzzle.
So you might be looking at Xander's screen and think, oh my, Xander's really caught up. But he hasn't got the bird key, which is a crucial thing here. Yeah,
and assuming we're right with our estimate, he's actually going to lose time a bit later on because doing the early Rooster Skip did actually save noadKajoo time, on the run as a whole.
Yeah. The way I try and sort of quantify how much time it saves, I think of it as this, because it saves the amount of time that falling at Rooster Skip would in a save and quit category. I think of it as this, that let's say you lose several seconds for getting second try Rooster Skip. I call this a 0 try Rooster Skip. That's the best way I can kind of quantify
I can see where you're coming from there, I guess. But yeah, so we saw both those guys going for kind of the safer boss key skip, where they picked up the pots, super jumped, and clinked off the P-hat. And not unlike with the Dodongo skip in Dungeon 3, it just sends them flying up the ledge, and they get the boss key. And then with a unintended diagonal jump, they get to the boss real quick, and they kill the boss real quick with just 1 spin slash and 2 bomb arrows. And here's Node getting our second song, which is Mambo's Mambo.
I've got a problem here.
Hey,
I can't switch audio to someone.
I want no. This is a beautiful song, and I want to hear O's in chat.
I have no way of switching audio to someone not getting this song right now. At least we only hear it once.
Yes, at least we'll only hear it once.
Oh, you would. Saw that coming.
You'd never see that coming.
Oh, don't worry, it's happening again at Frog Song.
Oh, is it? Oh, no.
Yeah, but in reverse.
Turnabout's fair play. So we see both runners getting their second song on the ocarina. And this song, the first song, which is the Ballad of the Windfish, unlocks some cutscenes. It's going to open the egg at the end of the game, casually anyway. The third song, it's also used for a couple of story progression things. Whereas Mambo's Mambo is an optional song. You don't need it to beat the game, and it's purely utility. Where if you play it in a dungeon, like the Mirror in A Link to the Past, it'll warp you back to the beginning. Which we don't get to make use of because it's faster to just save and quit to the beginning of dungeons. But its secondary use is if you play it on the overworld, you'll warp to this little pond in the middle of the map that kind of speeds up some overworld routing. So we will see our runners use that a couple times coming up. Yeah, so we see both runners here coming and skipping a port. No one got a bit confused about why he was at the fisherman. Unless he was memeing, but I think he might have just got confused.
I think he just forgot he wasn't getting the picture then.
Yeah,
You have to go to the fisherman twice. You have to go to him for part of the trade sequence. You then go
which
to
we actually
Mermaid.
just skipped a huge chunk of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You bomb trigger into that invisible pit on the left, and you skip most of the trade sequence.
Yeah, we just get the bra, which is one of the last items right away, and we see Node then immediately taking it to get the scale from the mermaid. But we're going to see the runners also then return to the fisherman afterwards to get a photo that they need. And we're just laughing because Node walked in there and talked to the fisherman, presumably because he wanted to get the photo.
Ooh, Node getting some really, really bad... he timed that quite badly.
Yeah, we can't really call it luck because it's always the same timing, but there's no visual cue for our runners to know. What he wanted to do is he wanted to save and quit on the same frame that he collected the scale, so he could just save and quit and warp back to the telephone booth there. But because there's no good visual cue for it, he just kind of, took him quite a few buffers. And then Node, he was going for what we call a Zora bump here to line up for a super jump, and he did it mostly unbuffered, and it looked like he was in position, or at least one pixel off position, and I think he went to move just a single pixel and went too far and went into the water by accident. So same thing happened this time, and he's trying very carefully to inch. Yeah, he got it. So he wanted to move just one pixel to the left without falling into the water, and he got it the second time.
He also
so
got
for doing it unbuffered.
He also got ghost text like right after the first try as well.
Yeah.
Which the ghost can randomly talk to you, and if the ghost decides to talk to you whilst you're in the middle of that setup, GG.
Yeah,
you have to do it again.
It can screw you up. It's such a pain.
And that's like that would be like Xander levels of bad luck if that were to happen.
Well, I was gonna say I was so focused on Node, I missed Xander's side, but I think Xander actually had a better Zora bump than Node did there. Because I mean, obviously we know that Node is still technically ahead because of his rooster skip. But in terms of where they are, Xander did seem to gain some time there with a better early magnifying lens.
Xander was quite a bit more, quite a bit further behind than he is right now. But he.
What I'm wondering, did you see how his save and quits went for the scale?
They were still quite bad, but they were a lot quicker than Nodes.
Okay.
I think that might have been where he caught him up though.
Yeah, that might have helped.
The thing is, as we see them on screen right now, Xander is actually less than one rooster skip behind. So, and I would have estimated that he was close to 2 rooster skips behind at one point in this run. So he has definitely clawed that back. So we see both runners going to the guy that's on the beach. He has a boomerang, and you basically need the magnifying lens to talk to him, and he'll trade the boomerang for what's on your B button. And this is what makes early magnifying lens really, really stupid, because later on we're going to use this boomerang, which we've just gotten, to do some crazy stuff in Dungeon 5, and it makes the whole glitch of early magnifying lens so much worth it. That and the fact that it's just much better for routing. So we see both runners getting a seashell here, and then we're going to see them get an item upgrade. Most likely arrow upgrade for both runners. And so they need all 3 of these upgrades. This will be the second one of the 3. The last one's up on Telltale Heights. So Xander getting I want to say those were actually beneficial damage boosts. Slightly. So they're actually going to use Mamba after this, and this is like one of the best ways of using Mamba, because it basically skips you having to travel halfway across the map to where this pond is.
And especially at this point too, they had to kind of go through really out of their way to get to the shrine, so to backtrack out of it alone would cost a lot of time.
Yep. So they have to return the ghost, which is why being here right now is really good, but they're also going to do Color Dungeon after this.
Also worth noting that this photo is the only reason we actually get the ghost anyway. Because there are a number of ways that we can just skip the ghost by avoiding his triggers.
Well, yeah. There's the really bad way, and then there's the get the level 2 bracelet way. So the level 2 bracelet in this game will actually prevent the ghost from ever spawning. So in our main category, we actually do Dungeon 4 after Dungeon 6, so that we have the level 2 bracelet so that the ghost doesn't spawn. But the other way would be the ICS way, and yeah, we don't want to go into that kind of worms. Xander trying to get some boomerang swag, not really getting it that quickly.
Yeah, the boomerang we've got some new strats with the boomerang lately, and the boomerang has a funny hitbox. It's smaller than it looks, and it's sort of when you shoot the boomerang horizontally, it kind of flies a bit higher than Link. So we saw Xander there going for it. He just pushes the block out of the way, and he can kind of collect the heart piece with the boomerang through the diagonal.
No.
And saves a bit of time.
Now the thing with moving blocks in this game is that once they're moving, they have no hit detection except for Link. Like, Link's the only thing that has hit detection with moving blocks, and like enemies. Items don't have hit detection through them, so you could throw a pot through a moving block in Dungeon 2 to kill that Pole's voice. You could hookshot through blocks as well in some places. And using the hookshot there, using the boomerang there is another example of this.
And we saw as they both came into the color dungeon, one of the first rooms they were able to bomb a hidden wall and collect, a good number of rupees there, probably, roughly 125 rupees on the first go. And that room is really interesting because the game tracks whether or not you've collected those rupees, but it does so in an interesting way that it's not tied directly to your save RAM. It's tied more to another general spot in RAM, so you can either leave and re-enter the dungeon, and it'll refresh it, or we're going to see them here, they save and quit, and then they hard reset their consoles. And for whatever reason, if you save and quit and just continue on, the rupees will still be gone. But they hard reset there to refill the room of rupees, and we can just farm this infinitely. And this is important because we want to hit 300 rupees so that we can buy the third and final song for the ocarina coming up.
You also have to remember how bad it would be for them to exit the dungeon and re-enter to get this to respawn, which is the alternate way. Because they would have to then push the gravestones once again to get back in.
And dealing with those ghosts and everything, yeah.
And that bottom left gravestone is just annoying. Like, it's got a really weird hitbox. You try and push it in the middle, it's not going to move. You have to push it, right at the top or right at the bottom. So, Node going for the older strat. He actually got a very good bingo room, if I'm going to be honest.
He handled that very, very well.
Well, Xander's using the new strat.
Yeah, the new strat being to use the boomerang, but I don't understand why people use the boomerang myself. It's clunky, it's difficult to do, and as we see with Xander, sometimes, you'll shoot the boomerang too early and it'll pull the enemy the opposite direction you want it to go, and the sword is easy, you know?
Now, with the sword there, Xander actually had a chance of getting two of the enemies in the same hole there. But with the boomerang, that isn't a thing.
Now I've just switched the audio over to Xander. I noticed Node seems to be having some connection issues. So we'll just follow Xander for the time being, just so the audio doesn't keep cutting in and out.
Yeah, I think they kind of both are a bit having connection issues. But Node possibly more so.
So the reward for beating the color dungeon is an upgraded tunic. And interestingly enough, we actually see our two runners getting the two different tunics. So we see on Node's side, he opted for the red tunic, which is it's essentially permanent piece of power like we had in Dungeon 3. Except it doesn't go away, you don't have to worry about getting hit. And it'll double your damage and give you knockback effect to your sword. Whereas Xander opting for the blue tunic, which is basically permanent Guardian Acorn, which just halves all the damage you take. And more specifically for us as speedrunners, we just care that it doesn't add the knockback effect. So a lot of boss quick kills and stuff will be the same as if we had the green tunic.
It's also worth knowing with regards to the red tunic that one key function of Piece of Power that it doesn't have is the movement speed increase.
Yeah,
it
that's
doesn't
important.
have that. Because if it did, my god, no one would ever think of using the blue tunic.
Oh,
I can tell you that.
If it increased your movement speed like Piece of Power, it would probably shave minutes off the run.
It would probably save minutes where they are right now.
Oh yeah, exactly. That'd be huge. But
I
no,
mean,
unfortunately,
this maze
same
takes
speed.
ages. Yeah, so probably the quickest probably the biggest place is going to help us is mini bosses from now on. Just going into just before Dungeon 6, picking up those pots before we get level 2 bracelet.
Yeah,
it's also
minor time save.
Yeah, it's also going to save on the Armos Knight as well, because it allows you to slash the Armos Knight where otherwise you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, the Armos Knight fight is so much easier with the red tunic, but conversely, the Dungeon 5 boss is a ton easier with the blue tunic. So there's a bit of a trade-off, and it kind of balances out. And now here we have the frog song from con artist Mamu, charging us $300 for this garbage.
Everyone salute in chat.
A song so awful that it brings the dead back to life.
I'm the only one that's saluted in chat. How have you turned all these people?
I didn't do anything. They knew what was right. They listened to their hearts.
So we were talking about the wolf snake with regards to tunics. It is actually possible with red tunic to 2-cycle it. It's just much more difficult.
Yeah.
But if you are able to 2-cycle it, my god, you are a god, and in that case, red tunic is definitely worth it. But
we'll
blue
be
tunic,
able to explain that when they get there, because we'll actually be able to see them sort of side by side and how differently the fight goes.
blue tunic is also nice because it's safe.
Yeah, it makes
You
a
don't
few
get
boss fights
killed in the
easier, but then
overworld as much.
yeah, you basically double your health for free, and it's really helpful. We see Node just getting it, and Xander right behind, getting this really, really long heart piece around the mode. It's like
Most obscure
7 screens
heart
you gotta
piece
go through.
in existence.
Yeah. And there's one of the other impossible to find heart pieces. And now, important not to forget getting this this photo from Zora here.
Oh, this is a very random picture as well that I can imagine people would have missed on the DX version.
Yeah, so you need to get the magnifying lens before you can find this guy. But it's also just a random empty house in the corner of Animal Village that you may never just re-enter again. So even when
you've already gone in there, seen nothing's in there, and you might think, well, why would I go back in there again?
Yeah, and even speedrunners, when we know that we have to get this photo, it's so easy to just enter Animal Village and carry on to Dungeon 6 like we or go the opposite direction like Xander. Just getting a little confused there. I've done that a ton of times. Any area in the game that you visit multiple times, if you're focusing on the wrong thing, it's easy to just kind of mix up what stage you're in.
Oh, I think easily the worst case of this is in main category when you go to open D4.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember the amount of runners that have just plain forgotten to open that D4.
Yeah, you get to the top of the mountain, you nail obstacle skip, and then you find out that it's still flooded.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that before. You've probably done that before. Everyone's done it.
But we see both runners making their way through the Armos maze, which, you know, we bump the Armos Knights out of the way so we don't have to kill them. But it's such an annoying maze to navigate through. You're guaranteed to take a couple of hits, probably. And made a bit more annoying by the fact that we go out of our way there to get a seashell hidden under one of those knights.
Yeah.
Which is actually, it should be the last seashell that our runners need.
Blue Tunic makes this maze so much easier. Red Tunic makes the boss so much easier.
Yeah, so on Node's side, he can just slash his sword and kill him. Xander nails it though. Xander using the boots to get a couple of well-timed dashes in, which, you know what, if you nail it the way Xander did, it doesn't lose. It only loses maybe a second. So good for him for getting that done really well. Now,
the danger of Armos Maze isn't the maze itself, but what's waiting for you after. And these bomb fairies are... If you've taken too much damage in Armos Maze, you won't die to Armos Maze, you will die to those bomb fairies.
Which is easy to do, because the bomb fairies love to get in your way, and each Armos Knight in the maze does 2 hearts of damage if you got the red tunic. Each Zal does probably half a heart, a heart and a half, like just a heart. Yeah. I'm not sure, but it's so easy to rack up a ton of damage. And we see Node had a very good Armos Maze, but still damage boosting through that last knight. He's down to 2.5 hearts.
And the thing is, like, dying after Armos Maze is the worst place in the entire run to die. Because the amount of backtrack, that's worth like 2 minutes at least lost.
Yeah, because you're not just backtracking, you're backtracking through Armos Maze. You know?
Again.
It's the last place you want to be there 3 times, you know?
And of course, the same thing could happen again once you get out.
Another nice function of the boomerang is you can actually kill sparks, and they'll guarantee drop you a fairy. So we see I'm assuming both of them use the boomerang to get a free health refill, just coming through that hallway. So as long as you can get into Dungeon 6, you're safe. And now, Node just, Xander getting his Power Bracelet level 2. Node already has his, and just cleaning up these flying tiles. We used to care about saving our arrows here, but we realized that we have way too many. We don't really need them at this point in the game anymore. So, might as well just keep your arrows equipped and make short work of them.
Except Xander uses Boomerang, which is much more economical.
More economical, but he did waste time with his menus by doing so. I'm not really sure why he opted for the boomerang there.
I mean, why didn't he just opt for the hook shot?
Yeah, if you're going to equip anything, you can get invincibility there. But now, getting through the Wizrobe room here, once again, Xander with the blue tunic. Oh, he placed the bomb not close enough to the center. I was about to say that the blue tunic makes that room easier because that top Wizrobe, you want to knock him into the blast area, and with the knockback effect of the red tunic, it's more of an issue of timing, whereas the blue tunic, it doesn't matter. But Xander, unfortunately, misplacing his bomb there.
Why did no go sword instead of boomerang? I'm presuming that is meant for the super jump. You can't actually super jump with the boomerang. You can only do it with the sword, the fire rod, or the bow.
Yeah, anything that changes Link's facing direction.
Yeah. Otherwise, like, most of the choices between sword and boomerang are based on personal preference. Because, like, a lot of runners sort of prefer the boomerang, whilst others prefer other weapons.
Now, did you see Node seemed to have a very fast horse heads, but I didn't actually catch the number.
I didn't catch the number. I know Xander is having some quite bad skill heads here. He's going for my record.
Oh my god.
He has a 1 in 300, like, quintillion chance of getting that. And he's getting it right now.
What was that, 17?
There's more than that. I think it was at least 20.
Yeah, I counted like 16 or 17. I'm not sure how many that was. That was insanely bad.
I stopped counting at one point.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, each horse head itself has a 50% chance. So, with the two of them together, you have a 1 in 4 chance of leaving the room. So, an average of 4 tries. And we see Xander there. Alpha in chat counted 18. So, or 19 for Matt. Either way,
wow,
that was just insanely bad luck. Wow.
And then it's crazy how much time that loses as well.
And that's one of those moments where you just, you shrug your shoulders, you shake your head, and you're just like, of course, Xander, I'm sure, he's not happy with his run. He's just sort of course the game decided to do this to me at this point. Kicking him odds down. What
I tend to think at that point is, more, give me more. Let me put this record even more out of reach.
and Xander sharing his views on the subject with us in chat. 18 tries indeed.
I don't think it's something wrong with the game. I think it's something wrong with the fact that he doesn't have the bamboo cart.
Or possibly because Phantom Matt cursed him.
It is all Matt's fault. Everything is Phantom Matt's fault.
God, yeah, that's so unfortunate because it's just one of those elements of the game that's out of your control, and usually it doesn't cost you a ton of time either way. But here's the odd time where it absolutely made a difference.
I mean, it would happen to Xander, wouldn't it?
It would.
Of all people.
The bad things always happen to Xander.
I know. Eventually, he wants Blue Ball World Record as well.
Well, that's the thing. If you're gonna get bad luck, you want to go all the way and get the worst luck.
You want to have the record for bad luck.
Exactly. But he was just smack in the middle, where he didn't get good luck and he didn't quite get the worst luck. He just ruined his run.
Yeah, it's like at least with the worst luck record, then you can start saying to people that complain about bad luck. You can start saying, well, you think you have it bad.
Yeah. But, so we saw after Dungeon 6, both runners heading up to the Seashell Mansion for the third and final time to finally get the level 2 sword. And, like I said before, this is actually quite early in the run, as far as routing goes. So they're actually going to be able to make quite good use of it. And this is what makes the blue tunic viable, because the red tunic doesn't increase your damage against most enemies, and having the level 2 tunic, the level 2 sword actually, Xander's going to be doing the same damage that noadKajoo is doing. And Node just pulling off early hookshot. He spawned the key once, pulled it into the other room, the Master Stalfos room, with the boomerang, and the game treats small keys as hookshots in that room, because that's typically the room where you get the hookshot. And it's a 50-50 chance, if you do everything correctly, it's a 50-50 chance of getting the early hookshot. And Node gets first try, which is so nice, because each additional try probably costs you between 10 and 15 seconds, depending on how quickly you do it. So that is awesome. That's awesome for him. But we'll have to see how Xander's goes here. So obviously, two tries is average, but it can be really bad. Like a 6-try early hookshot we've seen in this tournament, and that can just ruin your run.
I was going to say, I hope Matt remembers that heart. Because you have to make sure all drops are gone from that room as well. Because so he gets a first try as well. So
great luck to both of them. It keeps the playing field even, at least with regards to that little bit of RNG.
So what actually happens if you have a pickup that's still on screen whilst you do that trick?
So it's not just any pickup. So like if you break a crystal with your sword, those drops don't matter. Only the ones. Yeah, only the enemy drops matter, and it has to do with the way the game stores NPCs and temporary items in kind of object slots. And ultimately, you want to make sure that the key has a higher priority than the boomerang. Otherwise, you'll simply collect the key, which there's nothing you can do about that other than to reload a save if you made a safety save, or you just carry on through the dungeon. But luckily, both our runners, were able to avoid that.
I just love how quick they are able to kill Master Stalfos in it. Well, not kill, but defeat Master Stalfos. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Sweet.
So Node's got the D5 boss here, where you got to pull his head out, and you got to do 8 hits total. So with the red tunic, he's going to be hoping for 2 cycles of 4, and he got a long pull. He was able to get 4 hits in the first time there, but only getting 3. So unfortunately, he's going to go do a 3 cycle. But no extra cycles, very well done. And honestly, with the red tunic, you've got to go in expecting basically to get a 3 cycle. Because you have to get, like, you're not going to be able to get 4 hits in unless you get a long pull, and that kind of comes down to RNG. But yeah, Noad having an amazing boss fight there, given the given the red tunic.
On that short pull, if I were him, I would have only hit him twice, because if he's left on 1 HP, he can fake snake you, where he just comes out of the wall. You're not able to do damage, and he explodes.
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's if he's past 6 health, and it's after the 3rd pull. So the 3rd pull, you never have to worry about it. But we see Xander here coming into it, and you can see he's able to get hits in much quicker succession because he doesn't have to worry about that weird knockback effect that the red tunic has. So Xander getting it in a very clean 2 cycle there.
He actually almost got 5 hits from that first pull as well.
Yeah, with the blue tunic or the green tunic, obviously not in this category, it's actually quite easy to get 5 hits in on a long cycle. But yeah, Xander getting the 4 and 4 there, and saving a tiny bit of time over Noad there. But like we said before, that the overall differences between the blue and the red tunic more or less even out. So Noad making his 2nd trip up the mountain here. 2nd and final trip, coming into D7. Now, most runners in most routes, and we're going to see Xander do this, this is at the time when they're going to go up into that cave and get the bird key. Now, Noad's already done this, so he's going to zip straight into Dungeon 7, and that's where the time difference, the real time difference between Xander and Noad is going to become very apparent again. And he gets obstacle skip. And we saw him there, he just wanted to bomb trigger that that heart piece in the that separated cave there. So
we're going to see now just how much the gap opens up between the 2 runners. And after this route skip, they'll actually be on the same route after that. So that'll be their actual distance apart.
Yep.
Which already it's quite big at this point.
Yeah, Noad's been having a very clean run so far. Nothing really stands out to me. I mean, I'm sure he's made mistakes that he's aware of, but
well, the mermaid one.
Yeah, I mean, you can call that a mistake, I suppose, but
I mean,
yeah, there's only so much you can do about that.
There was a point where Xander had I caught up quite a bit, but now Noad is just pulling out even further. And this wasn't just Horseheads. Noad has been pulling away since the start of D6.
Yeah, and I just checked Noad's splits, and he's currently 35 seconds behind his own PB, so that puts him right now on a very low 121 pace. So he's still got a very good run in the mix here. And
Xander falling.
Yep. That is not what he needed, unfortunately, but it's so easy to do.
Now the thing is, this actually loses even more time than early route skip would supposedly save, because
it's just
you're
more
basically
time
assuming a
lost.
save and quit at the start of that cave, so you'd be able to easily reload. But here,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So what Xander's trying to do here is on the very last frame that the hookshot retracts into Link, you have one frame where you can jump. You can use the Rock's Feather. And he is upset. Let's see what he's going to do. I don't blame him at all. He's you know, that's so frustrating to deal with. Now, really, I think if you're having trouble with this, you know, you're having a bad day, you might just want to buffer it. You can actually buffer the proper frame with a series of menus, rather than trying to frame perfectly time it. You know, it's too. Oh no, that's a shame to see. I'm not
happy about that.
No. Xander basically forfeiting live on stream here.
Yeah, this is how you forfeit.
That's called rooster skip. We call that one. But unfortunately, it goes out of bounds. You're not allowed to go more than one tile away from a walkable surface. So
yeah,
he went out of bounds. So he's forfeited his race.
Unfortunately, that's a disqualification then and there.
Yeah, I understand. Xander's been having a really frustrating run. Lots of bad luck, but
the thing is, he knows it's a disqualification as well.
Yeah.
But like at this point, like you've got Node who's fighting the D7 boss, and like Xander was already on third try Rooster Skip. Rooster Skip is a very hard trick when you don't do it buffered, but I do think... Oh no. I do think Xander was absolutely right to try unbuffered. I mean, he had nothing to lose at that point. He had to save as much time as he could.
Oh yeah. I mean, trying for unbuffered was definitely the right move there. If he's practiced that, you know, it's such an easy thing to miss time, and you only get so many tries at it before you fall. I just think it's a bit of a shame because I'd hope to see in the bracket stage, you know, I'm all for a good meme or two, but you know, it's nicer to see in the bracket stage
we don't want to see
really
the
giving it their all. Yeah. So yeah,
I mean, does that count as a forfeit? Does that count as a forfeit or a disqualification?
Well, it's a disqualification, but it's functionally the same thing. But yeah, we kind of glossed over Node's Dungeon 7 here. It happened so fast, but we'll get to see it on Xander's side, where we kind of sequence break getting the level 2 shield, which we never used, by the way. But we used the boomerang to sequence break getting that a bit earlier on the floor. And then we don't grab the steel ball to take down the pillars, we bomb trigger all 4 of them. And actually, let's see what Node does here on the Marin screen. He does the old strat. I wanted to see if he was going to go for the Zoomerang.
You know, Xander still will. Xander still will go for that Zoomerang.
Well, I'm pretty sure done well, that Zoomerang doesn't waste too much time because it doesn't cost an extra menu.
It's swag. Like it saves basically no time, but it's swag. It's like obstacle skip.
Yeah.
you do it for the memes.
But Node he's carried on after D7, and typically you're not supposed to be able to re-enter the mountain range after D7. You're supposed to fall down to that pit down by D4, and hopefully we can point it out when Xander goes to do it, but with a save and quit, when you first transition into that screen, you can actually gain control of Link while he's falling, and make sure to fall beside the pit rather than into the pit. So Node was able to do that to make his way over to Dungeon 8 much quicker, and we saw him just there get the 3rd and final upgrade shrine to get the powder upgrade, which isn't terribly helpful, but we need it. It's 100%, so we gotta get it.
Trick here called RNG skip, where he skips RNG, but he also skips a setup for an alternate way of getting this key, so this is actually pretty slow.
Yeah, Xander going full tilt memes at this point. He's
you know, I'm surprised he didn't jump against that door when it opened.
Yeah, well that would have just been like just a straight soft lock. But yeah, so there's a number of ways we can skip getting this boss key, but Xander decided to show us, you know, beating the mini boss and getting the key the intended way, and he's actually gonna... First time this tournament, I think, or maybe second time, we've actually seen someone go through that doorway. And now we'll see him fight the Dungeon 7 boss.
Just like to clarify, that's no longer the Gravone strat. Gravone has a nice little clip called the Gravone clip that Gravone likes.
And Node just getting the hookshot clip in D8 there, where he was able to abuse a hookshot glitch, where if you have hookshot on B and you jump and hookshot on the same frame, you'll hookshot at twice the speed you normally would. And Node used that to kind of, on a very precise pixel, clip farther into that block than he's supposed to, and was able to then diagonally walk past that key block, which saves us some time. We're able to get the magic rod here at the earliest point. We get it, the first thing we do in the dungeon is get this magic rod, and it just saves quite a bit of time in routing throughout this dungeon. And no Zoomerangs from Node, not even in Dungeon 8. I mean, I can't fault him too much for those ones, because I'm pretty sure they lose a bit of time, but...
Yeah.
They're so cool to see, and they're so fun to do.
I mean, how far is he off PB at this point?
He's far enough off that he could do Zoomerang. Like, he's... I don't think he's going to PB. I don't think he has enough time left to PB. It's a very good run, but I don't think he's at risk of, losing anything.
Well, it depends what his final boss was like on this PB, but...
You know Node. He's all business all the time. He's not going to mess around.
What's his... I wonder, is his current PB still the old world record?
Yep, he hasn't PB'd. Oh, we got a Zoomerang from Xander here. He's going to go for it.
Oh, actually, no.
He's doing the extra Zoomerang.
It's not his old world record, actually.
It's 120.40, right?
It's 120.40. That was 21 days ago. It was 21 days ago. Says is over a month old.
Okay, maybe I'm misremembering. I could have sworn his 120.40 was the old world record, but yeah. And we see Xander rescuing Marin. He's Zoomerang before Marin, and then he rescued Marin, which is just... It loses about a minute to talking to Marin, talking to Terran, and then the owl swoops in to ruin your day.
So, Node's old world record was a 120.52.
Ah, I see.
Because the leaderboard can show old runs as well.
But yeah, he was half a minute behind going into Dungeon 7, and so I don't think he has enough run left really to PB at this point. Although it depends. I'm not sure how his final fight went.
The thing is, you have to think the amount of time it takes to open the egg is probably going to be... If it was just the final boss he had to do, then sure, but the amount that he has to do plus the cutscene.
Yeah, with that, Node he's got all the instruments. He's just going to head over to the egg. And as we mentioned, once again, we're not going to use the ocarina and the song that we do have. We're just going to equip bombs and bomb trigger the cutscene because it's going to save us a menu.
So, at this point, the only thing that could happen to Node to stop him winning this race is a soft lock.
God forbid.
Which, we've seen it happen. No, even then.
And we see Xander's making use of his level 2 shield. Xander making use of his level 2 shield. That's the only use of the shield in the entire game.
That's the only intended use as well. Yeah.
But we saw Node earlier. If you just wall clip through that, the flame won't knock you back, and you can just walk right through it. So we don't even use it, even though we collect it. But Xander just showing it off there. And yeah, of course, you're right. Because Xander did break the rules and disqualify himself, that Node can do just about anything and and still win. And of course, Node soft locking would mean for like a rematch or something.
Yeah, because it would be him soft locking. That would be a forfeit against a disqualification, and they're basically even.
Yeah, exactly.
And Xander doing, of course, a Zoomerang. Why not? And doing a bomb trigger as a super jump.
Well, the Zoomerang strat there is honestly easier to do than the kind of the dash jump strat with the Roomba.
Yeah.
And of course, Node has the egg maze here memorized. As long as you don't read the book, there is a default pattern that we all know. And he's now going to go for an unbuffered tech skip here on the final boss. Hey, and Xander also...
Xander disqualified again.
Skipping Blano with an oob super jump there.
Doing exactly the same thing he did Bruce's skip.
Yeah. I mean, he might as well at this point.
I mean, he might as well go in the underground section of D4 now.
Yeah.
And just end up in the desert for no reason.
So I missed it there. Node Node, I'm not sure if he got the blob quick kill there. I was watching Xander's side. We'll have to keep an eye on how many blue balls he gets here.
Mm.
So there's one.
Oh, and imagine if Node did get blue ball world record. How much that would suck for Xander. So that's 3. And we also saw Xander getting a very swag collect on that final hard piece with the boomerang. So no getting away with just 3 blue balls.
I think it was 4.
You sure?
There was another one after you counted 3.
Okay.
I mean, still not terrible. You know, you average 2 blue balls, and of course, Node at this point, he's not aware, I don't think, but he's not at risk of losing at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, even if Xander hadn't disqualified himself.
Because at this point, no one's actually said, no one said in chat that he's disqualified or anything. So
yeah,
no doesn't know like that he can't lose this.
Well, and the thing was, Xander at the time that he disqualified himself was probably about 2 minutes behind, so Node would have needed far more than 4 blue balls for that gap to close. But there's Node opting not to do Death Skip and just do the boomerang hit to the eye, and that does it for Node. That's his run done. And he has finished with an official SRL time of 1:21:39, which is just a fantastic time for this tournament.
Yeah, that's quicker than what world record was 6 months ago, by the way.
Yeah. And like a 1:21 is in the top 10 times of this tournament, if not the top 5. So that's awesome. I mean, unfortunately, he's about a minute off his PB, but that is a great race.
I mean, for someone in that top tier of runner to PB during one of these races would be absolutely spectacular. Because like everyone knows when they're going for a PB, and he's showing the verification check for the photos.
Yep.
Everyone knows when you're grinding a PB, you're resetting constantly until you get that PB. In a race, you're not resetting. You're taking the RNG that you're given. So.
Well, and I think, I mean, obviously Xander's rupee start was far worse than Node's, but I think Node still lost probably 15 to 20 seconds on bad rupee luck.
Yeah. Oh,
hey.
yes!
This is the best meme. This is it. So
he's having to actually stop to do this.
Yeah, so Xander's wasting all his powder because when you run out of powder, it leaves your inventory and this mushroom respawns. And this is important because in the DX version, and only the DX version, you can kill both the blob in the color dungeon as well as the blob phase of the final boss just with the mushroom. For whatever reason, like typically you're supposed to use 3 hits of powder to kill the blob boss. And if you simply let the mushroom sprite, as Link holds it up above his head, touch the blob, it's enough. The damage counts. And it's a quick kill that we don't get to see very often, so it's fun to see Xander showing this off.
Gonna see if Node wants to come in for an interview, and then we can break the result for him.
Well, I don't imagine Node will join us for an interview. He generally doesn't.
He rarely does.
But GG to him nonetheless.
So I've told Node in PM what happened to Xander.
It's hard to fit all that in 1 PM though. There was so much that happened to Xander.
No, I basically said he was disqualified, and I left it at that.
Because I mean, because there was a lot of things that happened to Xander, and then there was a lot of things Xander did.
Here's the thing.
There were two phases of that run.
Here's the thing, if I say he's disqualified but then don't explain why, then Node has to rewatch our
That's true.
he has to rewatch our brilliant commentary of this run.
And he gets to see the madness that is Xander's run.
Yep.
Icing on the cake, he either missed or just didn't go for the tech skip here, which means we get to hear the boss music. Which is always nice. Because typically we'll see, you know, you want to get this tech skip because it saves roughly 10 seconds, but it makes for a possibly very anticlimactic fight where you don't get the music. And there it is, the mushroom quick kill, where Xander simply holds the mushroom above his head and instantly defeats the blob.
Mushroom is best item.
Yeah. The mushroom is actually an extremely useful item in this game where it gives us guaranteed pit skips, like Villa skip, and opens up a lot of things that we can do, but unfortunately, nothing that it allows us to do actually saves any time. It only makes things more consistent, so we never go for it.
Nice one, Xander. You just missed a yellow ball.
Yeah.
Also, something else Mushroom gives you is consistent soft locks if you mess it up.
Yeah, if you mushroom and pause the moment you fall down a pit, it'll just white screen and you'll be stuck forever.
Dragon once got that in the shop, not even using the mushroom.
Yeah.
There's
a couple of really uncommon soft locks that are possible.
The really bad one we saw in a previous tournament was Kransun against Darker in our first tournament. Kransun soft-locked on this boss with a white screen. And
yeah, he paused before he hit the ground, and if you pause kind of right as Link's falling into this fight, right as the boss spawns, a similar thing can happen where I think it's if a text box opens during your pause, you'll kind of soft lock because the text box will cancel any inputs, and you can't kind of unpause. And yeah, it was at the very end of the run.
It's basically a frame-perfect softlock.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, literally right after he did that softlock, through testing of that softlock, I think is when we found bomb triggers. Literally as a result of that softlock.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah, we were trying to work out why he's soft-locked, and someone tried to drop bombs for some reason. And apparently we worked out that was a bomb trigger.
Oh, and Xander's even going to give us a show. He's going to do the arrow strats for Deathel here.
Oh, if he wants to give us a show, he'll use bombs.
That's true.
Dude, like, arrows are the easy way out.
So we saw Node. The boomerang does a single... We'll kill this boss in a single hit, whereas it'll take 16 arrows or 16 bombs if you're crazy enough for it. So Xander here opting to take out the bow and arrows and finish him off that way.
Was I the only one as a kid that thought bomb arrows did more damage to him? So I used bomb arrows.
Well, I thought that even recently.
I think you saw my message a bit too late.
Well, you tried.
I tried.
And Xander now doesn't really want to enter the stairs.
Well, Xander finishing with the time of what was agreed by disqualification. I think... I thought it was man-boning there. I think as agreed, I think that according to challenge, it's a 3-hour, isn't it? If you forfeit or get disqualified.
For the purpose of a forfeit, we'll count it as 3 hours, but
if someone had a run that finished past 3 hours...
Yeah, I mean, but at this point in the bracket stage, there's no seeding involved that a 3-hour time will actually affect anything.
No. So GG to Xander.
Just barely getting the sub 130 there. just by sheer luck.
But wait, hang on. I have to check something. I have to check the most important thing.
It's not.
It's not. How can it not be?
Because he's got a 128.
How did he get a 128 now?
He just did it.
So this run is not sub P-Dog, therefore it cannot be verified.
And it looks like Xander's also going to opt to skip the interview this time as well. I think I can understand that.
I don't blame him. I'd be fuming after that kind of run.
I was going to say I've definitely been there too, where it's a run where everything goes wrong and just the game was against you.
We were talking about his small mistakes at the start, but he started really playing well during the mid game, but again, he got screwed over by RNG after that as well. It's just at every point there was RNG, like D6 horse heads, crap RNG, rupee RNG at the start, crap RNG. What I will say, the thing that actually finally got him Rooster Skip, that isn't RNG. That's the only thing I will say.
It wasn't RNG, but yeah, he was going for the unbuffered, the unbuffered Rooster Skip to save some time, and
it is the hardest trick in the run to do unbuffered. But yeah, it's. I mean, when you're that tilted, any amount of being tilted for Rooster Skip is. I mean, you're gonna fail Rooster Skip if you're in any way heated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was an interesting race anyway, and Node is always pulling off a really good race time. But I think that's going to do us for today.
Yeah, that should be interesting, because the next bracket will be either yourself or Sagas against Node.
I think it's probably going to be Sagas if I had to take a wild guess.
I think so too. My prediction was that Sagas is going to absolutely wipe the floor with you.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll probably see a French rematch of Node versus Sagas in the next round.
No,
but yeah, we have to see first. It'll probably be me versus Xander in the losers bracket.
Yeah, that should be a good race.
Yeah. But yes,
you were both very close on times as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, and our race was pretty close too in the earlier rounds. So yeah, that'll be fun. But that's our only match for today. That's the only LADX 100% race today. But we have been having back-to-back races this week. So we had one yesterday. We've had one race today. We've got Bamboo Shadow versus Alos tomorrow at 1 p.m. on Speed Gaming main channel. And then we got myself versus Sagas the day after on Thursday at 4:30 p.m. So definitely make sure to catch those races. I think the Bamboo versus Alos is going to be really exciting.
That's going to be so close.
Yeah, and it's funny because Alos, based on his tournament performance, was seeded lower, and that's why he's matched up with Bamboo. But Alos has had very good runs as well as very bad runs. So Alos definitely matches Bamboo in skill level.
You have to really wonder who is the favorite for that race. I don't think there is one.
Yeah, especially
my prediction has Alos winning though.
Well, I mean, I know Alos, not being more familiar with the original Link's Awakening than the DX version, but he's been practicing a lot, as you've said, with this tournament.
I mean,
the thing with Bamboo is a little rustier, but
yeah, he's a bit rusty. He's been playing Lufia.
Yeah, but all things considered, even though Bamboo is as rusty as he is, he's been still pulling off some really impressive race times. So, yeah, that's going to be a really fun race to watch. But yeah, so that does it for us, and I guess we'll sign off. I was Spearster, and
I'm Kavai.
And we'll see you guys next time.